I'm Andrew with Full Metal Fabworks. I'm going to show you how to install a set of our inner fender liners for the Jeep JL. Everything you see here is what you need to install one side. This is going to be the passenger side. This will be your front panel here, and then the smaller of the two will be your rear panel. This is going to have 3 pre-installed nutserts on it, and those are going to go towards the part that's protruding the most is going to go towards the inside of the vehicle. Then you're going to have your aluminum perforated mesh liners for the back of those. This one we've gone ahead and painted. They won't come like that, but allows you to do something optional if you want to customize it to match your vehicle or taste. Then you will have all your hardware that comes with it. It's going to come with 17 of these shorter ¼ 20 stainless steel button head Allens, as well as a stainless steel nylock. It's going to be 17 of those as well. Those, the shorter of the two, are going to be used to fasten your aluminum perforated panels to your front and rear panels. You'll have 8 of these ¼ 20 5/8 along with a stainless steel washer on those. Those are going to go everywhere there's a nutsert, which is going to be 3 in that rear panel, 1 in this body mount nut plate. That one's already going to be installed. And then for the passenger side, you're going to get 4 of these ¼ 20 nutserts that you'll be installing. And on the driver's side, you'll be installing 3 of those. Looking at your install tools here, I'll kind of run through these as you'll need them start to finish. First, you'll have, these probably aren't 100% necessary, but definitely helpful, some type of plastic automotive fastener removers. You will need a 10mm, and you will need a set of dikes. These you don't have to have, but if you don't want to save or retain your factory Christmas tree fasteners or plastic fasteners, you can just go ahead and cut those off. It's a little quicker and easier. That kind of wraps up what you need for disassembly of the factory fender. For insulation, you'll need a 5/32 Allen. This is a T-handle version. You can use a regular Allen wrench if you want. You'll need a 7/16 socket or a 7/16 open-ended wrench. You'll need a 16mm open-ended wrench. That is for loosening your body mount so that you can put your rivet nut plate on the front, which will be your front mount for your front panel. Next, you'll need a marker, paint pen, scribe, something to mark your holes with. Sharpie works just fine. You'll need a drill. You'll need a 25/64 drill bit for your rivet nuts. A pilot bit is helpful, something around 1/8 inch or just something a little smaller than the 25/64. A automatic center punch or an awl and a hammer. You could use a nail and a hammer, just something to mark the center of the holes for those rivet nuts. You'll need some type of RTV for your rivet nuts. Seal those up. And you will need some type of anti-seize or thread sealant for all of this stainless steel hardware. You're going to put something, Loctite, anti-seize, something on there to keep those from galling, just because they are stainless steel and a nylock. Lastly, you will need some type of rivet nut tool, which we have 3 different versions here. There's more than this. There's actually pneumatic and hydraulic ones if you really want to spend some money. Starting with this one's probably the simplest and cheapest option. It is just a nut, a couple washers, and a long ¼ 20 bolt. Something like this is going to be your cheapest option. Stepping up from there, you have a pistol grip style, a little bit better than that one for sure, a little bit more expensive. Lastly, you have this style here, which is our preferred for this type of install. A lot of people will supply a tool like this. We don't supply anything with our kit. In our opinion, these end up just being more frustration and headache than they're worth. If you're going to be installing Jeep parts on your Jeep, which sounds like you probably are, everything from corners, rockers, everything, go ahead and get something like this right here. Make sure you can do 1/4 inch up to 1/2 inch would be good. This style lets you get a little bit more leverage. These are really not that expensive of a tool. We probably paid 35, 40 bucks for these on Amazon. And if you have a Jeep and you're installing these parts, you'll probably find lots of uses for that. I'm going to go ahead and run through the install here. It's pretty straightforward. We'll get started. All right, we went ahead and brought you in a little closer so you can see. We went ahead and removed the factory inner fender liner. There is 3 or 4 10mm hex head bolts you need to remove, and then the rest are all the Christmas tree fasteners. You do not need to take out these little rivet guys here. They don't technically hold that piece of the fender on. They do wrap around it, so you'll just have to finagle those out of there. Once the fender's out of the way, couple things you want to do. You want to remove this piece here. Go ahead and remove this wiring harness that's clipped in with these Christmas tree fasteners, and then you're going to want to unplug, or not unplug, but remove this wiring harness for your light so it can be moved out of the way. Couple options here. You can go in with a tool like that and pull off these Christmas tree fasteners if you want to save them, but go ahead and discard that. You don't need it. Or if you want to be a little quicker, you can go ahead and cut these off. We're going to go ahead and remove this one with a fastener in case we ever want to put it back where it goes, but it's just going to tuck up in there. You can zip tie it to one of these other wires here. With all that out of the way, one of the first things you want to do, this hole here, you're going to want to drill out to 25/64, and you're going to install a rivet nut there. So we'll go ahead and get that drilled out and then go through the rivet nut installation process. Go ahead and touch that up with a little body color paint, and then we will show you how to set the rivet nut in there. Okay, we've got some body color paint on that, so we're going to go ahead and install a rivet nut. We're going to apply some RTV around this just to better seal up that hole, and then go ahead and install it. With this type of rivet nut gun, you're just going to want to spin the rivet nut on a little bit, so when you go to compress it, before it bottoms out, it starts to grip this, so it will pull it through and expand it. So we're going to set this. And this is a good one to practice on because you can go ahead and check the back side and make sure it expanded. With that nut cert installed, we're going to go ahead and clean up any excess RTV. Get this prepped for that rear panel to go in. So you can look at your riv nut front plate that goes on your body mount. I'll show you how that goes in a little bit, but I don't know if you can see this, if the camera will focus, but you can use this as a reference for what a properly set riv nut looks like. It should have even distribution and expansion, so it will grip that hole there. So we'll install that here in a minute. For now, we're going to install the rear panel. We went ahead and installed the mesh screen on the back side. Nothing particular there. I didn't want to bore you with that. Just make sure you use the anti-seize on those bolts, again, because they are stainless steel and they will gall if you don't. Something a little different on this Jeep, this hose right here. Probably won't see that on yours. This is going to be some type of catch can drain. It is aftermarket, so we've notched this panel for it. Yours won't have this notch in it. This will, fight us a little bit going in, but we'll go ahead and show you how this goes. For the two holes you see here and here, going that way, you are going to use a 1/4 by 5/8, a stainless steel washer, and 2 of the stainless steel nylocks. Up top here, something I didn't mention earlier, we do include 2 longer stainless steel bolts that are 1 inch long, so they're 1/4 by 1 inch. That's going to go into your rib nut, and then on the other side there's a flag nut, which we'll show you in a little bit. That you'll see why we included a little bit longer one. This front panel is going to hook into it, and it allows you to leave it a little bit loose, get it hooked in, and then finally set it once you have everything installed and adjusted. So we'll go ahead and get this set up, put in there, and then we'll move on to show you how to fit the front panel. So and a tip, if you're not doing your final install, you may want to leave these mesh screens out, allow you to reach through there and kind of see the backside a little bit better. You won't have to look over here. So we'll go ahead and throw 2 nylocks on the back of this. You can go ahead and tighten these 2 down if it's your final install, which it is for us. So we'll go ahead and get that done and then move on to the front. With your rear panel installed, you want to go ahead and install your rivet nut plate. It goes under the body mount, and it has this radius in it that will index off of your actual body mount. So go ahead and loosen this up. You don't have to remove it, just loosen it enough that you can get this under there. And that's going to be a 16mm open-ended wrench, and then it's going to sit right up against that body mount, and then go ahead and get that tightened back up. Get that good and snug, and then we'll move on and install this front panel so we can mark all our holes for the rivet nuts. With your rear panel in, your back 2 bolts good and tight, and this one left loose, and your front rivet nut mount in there. That'll allow you, give you 1, 2, 3, 4 places to mount your front panel to. So we'll go ahead and get that installed. And I'll go ahead and show you why this bolt, it's easier to leave it a little loose. So on your front panel, you're going to have a hook that's going to go in behind there. So leaving that a little loose gives you some room to work to get that up in there. This front part is going to go behind these stock Fender brackets. And then you want to go ahead and throw 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts in. Again, with anti-seize, and these are going to be 1/4 by 5/8 as well. Alright, so with that front panel in place, what you're going to want to do is go through and make sure everything's fitting the way you want it, because this last step's going to kind of lock the fender in there. You want to take your marker Sharpie paint pen and mark 1, 2, 3 holes. That's where you're going to put your 3 rib nuts on this side, and you're going to do the same 3 on the other. So we usually like to mark them and then center punch them as well, so that way you don't use some random mark as your drill point. It's important to make sure this thing is fitting right, exactly sitting where you want it to. Mark all the holes, and then we're going to go ahead and drill those out to 25/64. We'll start with an 1/8 inch pilot and then step up to that 25/64. Put the rivet nuts in just like we did earlier with some RTV, and then we'll go through and final install this panel. once you got your nutserts installed, if you've already got your inner fender powder coated, you can go ahead and do a final install on it. If it is still bare aluminum and you're not leaving them like that, and you want to take in a powder, you may want to do one more test fit. But again, start up here with this longer bolt and get that in behind there. Get the inner fender behind these two, and then go ahead, and we like to start with here and just work our way around all the bolts and nutserts that you just put in. Get everything loosely started, then do a final tighten down. Don't forget your long one up there. Then you'll have a nice solid inner fender. We'll go ahead and move you over to the passenger side and show you some of the differences there. Over here on the passenger side, you're going to have three key main differences between your install on the driver's side. First, there's only one bolt on the back side here rather than two. Just a little different mounting on this side. Also, this panel is going to be notched out for these two chassis grounds. And lastly, this access nut or flag nut, where you used a rivet nut or installed a rivet nut on the driver's side, we're gonna provide this flag nut, which will allow you to put the nut up in here behind this little electrical box, and then you'll use a 1/4-20 through that same hole there. Essentially, this flag nut has a little tab where you can hold on to it, stick it up in there, and then get a bolt through it, and this will be covered up by this front panel. So that's the reason you need either a rivet nut on the other side or this flag nut here. This flag nut has a tab. If you need to, you can bend it forward just to give you something else to grip onto. Once you get the bolt installed, you can go ahead and bend that back out of the way so you can install this front panel. So that'll complete your install. If you have any questions, give us a call, 909-505-7115. Thanks. Have a great day. Hope you enjoy your inner fenders.